This has been kind of a bad week for everybody. Charlie Kirk was martyred. Sense doesn't make any sense except he was a Christian. He was the most gracious debater that I have ever heard in my life. Don't have to like his topics, but you have to respect a man because he was always a gentleman. And he valued his Christian beliefs. Now, last Tuesday, on the 9th September, I was able to go up to see Joanne at the facility that they pushed her off on. Make no mistake, call it what you want. You call it a senior retirement center, rehabilitation center, nursing home. For the most part, it's another name, a fancy name for jail. Now, to get into this facility, you have to push a buzzer and it gets you in a little waiting room there. And once you get in there, you're stuck. You need somebody to come to the door out of that waiting room to get you into the main part of the facility. And if you can't get anybody's attention and there's no attendant on hand, then you just have to sit and wait till somebody decides they're going to come out, because you can't go out once you come in. But we were able, and I say we, I'm talking about my friend Richard and I, we were able to get in because, lo and behold, there was a receptionist there. And everybody parted, and so I walked down the hall and knocked on the apartment door of Joanne's, and a worker there, she come up to me and she says, "Are you wanting to visit with Joanne?" I said, "Yeah." She says, "Well, we have her in the TV room down here." So I went into the TV room, and there she sat alone. And I said, "How long have you been here?" And she said, "A couple hours." Now, she didn't know I was coming up. I told her, but she forgot. But I have to make an appointment with this facility before I can come up. So they knew I was coming up, and they knew it's a 4-hour trip, and I normally show up around noon. And I said, "Well, can't we go back to her apartment?" And she says, "No, she has to be out here for a while." And it battered, I went back and forth in my mind, and finally I asked him, "Am I restricted from going into her apartment?" Well, it was determined that Stacy Bollinger kind of runs that place without being there to run it. and it was Stacy Bollinger that gave the orders. I could not go back to the apartment. And I brought some items for Joanne to have in her apartment. They said, well, we'll take care of that later. Well, what I brought was, a 12-inch high refrigerator unit to put drinks in, juices and what have you. And I brought her some applesauce. And I bought her some toilet tissues because what they use is not much more than a sandpaper. And also I brought her up some Kleenex. And I ended up handing it to an employee. And they brought it back saying that it has to be approved by Stacy Bollinger. And later on, driving home, I was a wreck, even though I shouldn't have been surprised. But I was upset. And once I got home, not too long thereafter, Joanne called me. Now, that was a surprise because that's the first time she had called me in months and months. See, for her to call me, she has to get a helper from the facility to bring her a cordless phone. And she did that. Now, she was all upset and beside herself. And first thing she says, could you come up tomorrow and take me away from here? I said, no, I can't do that, Joanne. There's a court order against it. See, when I call that facility, the first thing I hear is that these calls will be recorded. And I figured if they can record from their end, I better record from my end to protect myself. So I record the call I got from Joanne. And I asked her, are you in your apartment now? And she said she was. And I said, do you have those magazines I brought you and these puzzles and coloring books? And she says, no. So I made it a point to have her get up and look around. And she says, no, there's nothing there but pictures that Carla had set up. And no pictures of me, even though I left her some. And I want to show you the magazines I brought. They were puzzles and stuff. And they took them away from Joanne. And the only sense it makes is that they're trying to shorten Joanne's life by putting her in solitary confinement. It comes to mind when her daughter, Carla Mauger, in December of 2019, she got upset with her mother and she says, Mother, you're dying. And I was put aback. I said, I can't believe a daughter would say that to her mother. I couldn't believe anybody be that evil. And now, looking back, it's almost as if she said, "You're dying, and I'm going to see to it that it happens by putting you into isolation." And with the help of Judge Nancy Ratsinas, Commissioner Jill Sasser, Stacy Bollinger, and Judge Snyder, they have placed Joanne in solitary confinement. It's like she's on death row. And it breaks my heart that anybody could be this evil to put a sweetheart of a lady through all this nightmare. And I don't know what the answer is. I mentioned Charlie Kirk at the beginning, and he worked a lot with the youths in colleges and tried to swing them over to Jesus. And some of the fair-minded news outlets point that out, and I applaud it. And the sad thing is, they don't seem to have time for the old people. And it's just, I don't know what the answer is going to be. I still trust in Jesus. There aren't very many Christians in the government, but it'd be kind of nice if we found one that would spend a small portion of their time looking into the abuse and exploitation that's going on with the senior citizens. And I'm just taking one day at a time. I pray a lot. And I know Jesus has the answer. And when the answer is revealed, we'll understand it. And it'll make sense to us. So I know I'm not the best speech giver. I'm not the nothing about me is eye candy, that's for sure. But I hope people will take heed to my message, as poor as I might be delivering it. Amen.
They get their basic training in lying and deceit as they rebel against their parents and they shun authority. The devil takes command when love gives way to greed. They can't tell right from wrong as they sow their evil seeds. Satan's soldiers are taking over. Soon there'll be we'll all have hell to pay. The world we know today is gonna end the moment we let Satan's soldiers win. All they do is make war. They don't believe in love. To them nothing is sacred. There is no God above. They take orders from the devil, their commander-in-chief. He's a liar and a killer, a cheater and a thief. Satan's soldiers are taking over. Soon there'll be nothing left but ashes where they've been. Once they get their way, we'll all have hell to pay. The world we know today is gonna end the moment we let Satan's soldiers win. But wait, it's not too late for you and me. God is our force against all enemies. He's our rock and our salvation. Faith in Him is all we need. All we need for victory. Satan's soldiers are taking over. Soon there'll be nothing left but ashes